How is everyone doing today? Welcome back to another episode of the Banker Next Door. I'm your host, Dr. Joe Berquist. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about stablecoins. So with a lot of the legislation that has just been passed, namely the Genius Act, but we also have two other bills that are currently have passed the House and are currently in the Senate waiting for consideration and hopefully will be passed and sent to the president's desk for signature. But if all three of those bills get passed, we will now have for the first time a full regulatory framework for banks around stablecoins. Now, this has created an awful lot of chatter in the whole banking sphere of some people think that this could create a giant fundamental change, a major impact for banks. Other people think that it's not really going to do much of anything. It may, in some respects, it may be kind of a nothing burger. I think that the reality probably somewhere in the middle there. But what we're going to do here today is we're going to look at an article from Bank Director here, and this is titled Stablecoins and Banking Separating Fact from Fiction as Bank Executives and Boards Grapple with the Potential Impact of Stablecoins in the Wake of the Genius Act. They will need a realistic perspective of the opportunities and risks to determine their strategic response. Now, this article goes through 5 different claims, and we're going to kind of break down myth from, fact from fiction, myth from reality in these 5 claims, and hopefully come away with a little bit better understanding of where banks could go with stablecoins here. Now, there is a link to this article in the description down below if you would like to go take a look at it, but let's jump into this for a second. So in the weeks since the Guiding and Establishing National Innovation for the U.S. Stablecoins Act, otherwise known as the Genius Act, became law on July 18th, financial institutions have encountered a great deal of information about payment stablecoins. Some industry observers and commenters have inflated expectations about stablecoins' impact, while others predict very little change. The reality is that few, if any, know how the future of financial services will take shape. Factors such as consumer and commercial adoption, infrastructure advancement, and further regulatory developments will all play a role in shaping the opportunities and risks associated with payment stablecoins. During times of emerging technology and innovation, it can be a challenge to cut through the noise and discern how a bank should respond. One helpful first step bank directors and executive teams can take is to sort through the various claims and predictions they are hearing about payment stablecoins and recognize them as either fact or fiction. So we're now going to go through these 5 claims. So claim number 1, banks don't have a role to play in the stablecoin ecosystem and will be quickly disintermediated. This is fiction. Banks are already integral in facilitating on and off ramps between fiat money and digital assets. The need for that interoperability will continue for the foreseeable future. Furthermore, banks have a long history of bundling financial services such as payments, credit, and deposits to build franchise value. Payment stablecoins might encroach on the payment aspect of those bundles, but their future as a deposit alternative is less certain. Claim number 2, now that the Genius Act is law, risks are reduced and banks don't need to be as cautious when pursuing stablecoin activities. This is mostly fiction. Now is a great time to consider stablecoin strategies, but the establishment of regulatory and supervisory frameworks does not fundamentally change the risk characteristics of the activities. Those risks include anti-money laundering and counterterrorism financing, cybersecurity and operational controls, and third-party risks related to virtual asset service providers. Claim number 3, there's no blueprint for banks to follow when engaging in digital asset activities. This is fiction. Several banks already have engaged in digital asset activities through core banking products and services, the custody of digital assets, and the holding of stablecoin reserves. Moreover, novel activities do not always drive novel risks. Rather, novel activities often result in new manifestations of familiar risks. The trick is to understand how existing risk management and compliance frameworks need to be tweaked. Claim number 4, if we build it, they will come. So this too is fiction. Unlike the movie Field of Dreams, in which a visionary enterprise ultimately leads to fulfillment, not every new endeavor is destined to succeed. When banks evaluate the role of payment stablecoins in their business strategies, they should start with the needs of their existing clients and prospective customers, and then identify specific problems that payment stablecoins should resolve. Adoption for the sake of adoption is unlikely to yield meaningful results. And then finally, claim number 5, all banks need to have a stablecoin plan. This one is a fact. The plan might be to do nothing for now, and that's okay. But all financial institutions need to consider the impact of payment stablecoins on their current business models and carefully think through their strategic options. In many cases, it can be helpful to include an outside third party with deep expertise in technology and regulation as a part of that planning. Regardless of whether a financial institution's strategy is to innovate, cautiously explore, or strategically wait, having a clear, well informed plan is essential. In the end, the Genius Act marks only the beginning of the payment stablecoin story. The path forward will be shaped by a complex interplay of regulation, technology, and market forces. The most successful banks will be those that approach the issue with curiosity and discipline. By separating fact from fiction and grounding decisions in sound risk management practices, banks can position themselves to successfully navigate uncertainty, capture emerging opportunities, and safeguard their role in the evolving digital financial ecosystem. Now, this is great. I think there's a lot of really great things here to delve into. So let's go back to claim number 1 for a second. So banks don't have a role to play in the stablecoin ecosystem and will quickly be disintermediated. No, I think that is bogus. I think banks have a huge role to play in stablecoins and in digital assets for that matter. However, I think the best approach for, again, I think the vast majority of banks out there have little to no experience in cryptocurrency, digital assets, stable coins. I think a lot of them have absolutely no idea like where to start, where to begin. And I think a lot of them, specifically the back office, the risk management people, they've probably looked at a lot of this in horror, to be honest with you, basically looking at it and going, oh my gosh, all we know about cryptocurrency and stable coins is that they've been used for all kinds of illicit financial activity. How in the world are we going to do, BSA and AML and not, run afoul of the regulators by dealing with all this stuff? So I think there's a lot of consternation with your security and back office, your BSA people. They probably are like not too crazy about this, but I think there is a way to manage this. Like I think custodial services. Like I think for whatever my 2 cents is worth, I think custodial services is the way to go. You simply become the custodian. You don't offer these products per se to the customer. You just become a custodian. You let other banks out there like issue the stablecoin. Like if JP Morgan wants to issue a stablecoin, or if I think who did I see? Maybe PCBB or somebody like that wants to issue a stablecoin. Like that's fine. Let them issue the stable coins, and then you just simply say, hey, listen, what we're going to do is we are going to provide basically a digital wallet, and then you can go buy your JP Morgan stable coin, you could go buy your PCBB stable coin and just put it in your digital wallet, and you build that digital wallet into the bank's mobile banking application. You merge those things and make it kind of one and the same, so that somebody can get into their digital wallet, and then if they want to go buy other cryptocurrency, if they want to then go to like Coinbase and buy some Ethereum or some Bitcoin, they can then go do that. And I think, again, I don't really care for Robinhood, but you use Robinhood here as a good example of their, beginning to put these things together. And so I think that is really a great space there. Now, going to claim number 2, now that the Genius Act is law, risks are reduced. No, the risks are certainly not reduced just because you have this regulatory framework around it. I mean, you have to come up with a game plan, and then you have to execute on that game plan, how you're going to do it. Claim number 3, there's no blueprint for banks to follow to engage in digital asset activity. I think there is. I think there are a couple of companies out there that are really gearing up right now to become advisors to banks that want to now get into the digital asset space. So again, maybe not the greatest blueprint out there, but it's coming. It's definitely coming. It's developing it. If we build it, they will come. Maybe. I think a lot of that, like you said, a lot of that's going to depend on the regulation, the infrastructure, how this gets adopted, what consumers feel about it. So So I think there's kind of a maybe there with that. And then finally, all banks need to have a stablecoin plan. Yes, I think you do. Like, I really do think you need to start talking about, like, what are you going to do in terms of stablecoin? I don't think you can just afford to completely sit on the sidelines and say, yeah, no, we're just not going to offer that, or we're just not going to have anything to do with it. I think you have to come up with some plan. Again, and that's why I say the custodial angle, because you're not offering those products to the customers yourself. You're not providing them. You're just a custodian. You are, offering them a digital wallet, and you're enabling them to conduct transactions. I personally think that is the way to go, the way to kind of dip your toes in the water without, perhaps taking too much risk up front, and then kind of go from there. Then the questions with that just become, what are all the costs involved in doing that? Now, and the last point I will make on this is, I think that through the Genius Act, which I've covered in some other episodes, I'll link some of the other episodes that I did on the Genius Act to this episode. There are some really good things for banks in terms of buying treasuries. In other words, what the government is really hoping here is that, you may issue stablecoin, but you're going to buy a lot of treasuries to back said stablecoin. So I think there could really be some good benefits to banks out there that really want to get into this. But we'll see. Like I said, we'll see how this unfolds. But I think that this article did a really good job in just trying to separate the fact from fiction in terms of a few of these items as it relates to stable coins, because banks do need to figure out, like, okay, what are we going to do, and how are we going to tackle this? But with that being said, I will wrap this episode up by saying, if you like this episode, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe, as that always helps the channel. Remember, we are on YouTube, Rumble, and all major podcast platforms. Please be sure to leave your comments down below. And as always, make sure to check out some of the other content on the channel. Do not forget, BND Strategy Room live stream, which is the main show of the channel, is every Saturday night at 8 p.m. on YouTube. Please make sure to check out the live stream if you have never checked it out. So with that being said, have a great day out there. I thank you for listening, and I will see everyone again real soon.